Welcome to Children's Chapel. I have lit the chalice candle to celebrate our Unitarian Children's Chapel. We are the chapel of the open mind, the loving hearts, and the helping hands. With our chalice candle lit, now is a lovely time to have a think about your joys and concerns for this week. If there's something that is making you happy or something that's making you concerned, now is a good time to share it. Have a little think in your mind of the happy things that have happened this week that make you happy, or things that you'd like to perhaps share with yourself or others that aren't feeling as happy, or things that you'd like to improve or make better. For me, I've got two. I've always got two, haven't I? But my first one is the joy of the moon, the supermoon. I think it's the last supermoon of the year, I'm not sure. But last night, the moon was very, very, very beautiful and big. And it just seemed to give so much light in the darkness all around. And sometimes the skies have been really clear and maybe there's less air pollution, but you can really see the stars in the sky. So depending on when your bedtime is, and I know the nights are getting darker later, but do have a look out and see if you can spot some beautiful stars or the moon in the sky. And my concern was that I thought I should be a better friend. I've got a friend and I'm always telling him all about myself and sharing my concerns with him, and he's always a really good listener, but I thought actually maybe I should learn to be a better listener and take time to ask him questions about how he's doing. So that's my concern for this week, and I hope to be a better listener and a better friend. So with that in mind, do take a minute just now to think about your joys and concerns and to add your pebble or rock to the pot, and hopefully you have a candle too that you can light with your family and have a chat all together about what your joys and concerns are. Hi everyone, how are you? I hope you're well. I hope you've had a fantastic week, all things considered, and you're keeping well, and that the sun is shining where you are and you're managing to get out into the sunshine. This week is week 2 of thinking about thresholds in May and doors, thresholds meaning doors. And I'd like to think about the idea of a door as a welcome. So how do we be welcoming, and how do we balance that between being inclusive and inviting people into our houses or our chapel, but also keeping ourselves safe as well? And how do we make it look inviting? Bear and Butterfly have been super busy and they've been decorating their door in the way that they can, so you'll see that. There's also a lovely, lovely story by Emily, who sent it all the way from Australia, and she's telling you the story of Icarus. So you can learn about the wings he makes and the rules he has to go by and the balance that he has to get for his dreams. So you'll find out whether he can fly with a balance, so not too high or too low. It's a fantastic story. When we think about welcome, we think about balancing things as well. And so I thought for this week's craft, it would be really, really nice to make a dream catcher. The Native American Indians believe that they can hang a dream catcher up in their windows, and it will provide a way of keeping their dreams safe. So there's good and bad dreams out there, and if they hang the dream catcher up, only the good dreams will come through the holes, but the bad dreams will be kept up in the netting. It's a bit like a spider's web. And so they hang it up, the good dreams come through, they go down the threads and the beads and the feathers and down onto the beds, and you have beautiful dreams. I just think that's such a lovely thing. So out of what I've got, I've put some photos together, stage by stage, of how to make a dream catcher. It's great if you have a paper plate and can get someone to cut out the middle of it. I didn't have that, so I've used some cardboard, as you'll see it when you watch it. And there's some thread, some sequins, buttons. If you have feathers, great. I managed to find a bit of ribbon with some feather decorations on to get the idea there. So I hope it works out. It's not my best thing that I've ever produced, but you get the idea, and you'll see that Bear and Butterfly have made one for their window too. So do enjoy the Icarus story from Emily. Have a look at what Bear and Butterfly have done to provide their door of welcome and also to keep themselves safe. There's the dream catcher, and if you make one, do send in a picture of it. And I hope that when we get back to Children's Chapel all together, I'll have some paper plates and we can make some more dream catchers then. So for now, stay safe, and I hope you've had a wonderful week, and I wish you such a wonderful week to come. So take care. See you soon. Bye.
Hello, I'm Emily with a story for all ages. Today the story is about Icarus, who is trapped in a tall prison tower with his father. What will Icarus do when he is finally free? The story of Icarus, an original retelling by Erica Shadowsong. Daedalus was a brilliant inventor, and he had made a career, even a legend of himself, for being able to create the seemingly impossible. So when he decided to escape from his tower prison by flying over the ocean like a bird, his son, Icarus, had no doubt he would do it. It took him a little while, and Daedalus did the thing that no one else had ever been able to do. He created 2 sets of wings that, for all intents and purposes, looked like they could have come from a very large bird, with a wingspan twice his and his son's own heights. Daedalus was ready to fly. At any other time in his life, that would be it. He would take off, no matter how dangerous the risk, with the untested creation, and somehow beat the odds impossible for anyone else. But Daedalus was older now, and he'd had his share of trouble. His proclivity for trouble had landed him in prison, after all. And now, because he had a son, he could no longer do anything without first weighing the consequences. And he worried now, something he had hardly ever done for himself in his own youth and prime. When the wings were finished, Daedalus showed them to his son. He gave him careful instruction. When we set out over the ocean, you must take care not to fly too high, because if you do, the heat of the sun will melt the wax holding these wings together, and you will fall into the sea, and I won't be able to save you. But you also must not fly too low, because the ocean spray will soak the feathers and drag you down into its depths. Be sure to follow me and do what I do until we safely reach the shore. Icarus agreed, because his father knew everything. So they attached the wings to themselves one day and leapt out of the high tower window, catching the wind and sailing high over the endless ocean. At first, Icarus did exactly as his father had instructed. But as they continued to travel for what seemed like hours, and as he was naturally a fast learner, he began to fly playfully, imitating the seabirds shrieking in the sky. He flew faster than his father, who was flying more carefully. Every now and then, he'd hear his father call out to him and remind him to take care not to fly too high or too low. He stayed well away from the ocean spray, but he could not resist flying higher and higher to see how far he could go, and the enormous sun was so very far away. Surely there was more than enough height for him to go before there was any danger from it. And he probably would have been right, if it were not for the fact that, as he saw the tiny silhouettes of birds flying across the great bright sun over the ocean, he found himself hypnotized by its beauty and enormity. He couldn't help it. Watching the sun and the birds flying seemingly so close to it, he naturally rose higher and higher, and he began to entertain what he knew was impossible. He began to think about what it would be like to touch the sun. He heard his father's voice calling behind him, so far away, and he could hear the terror in it. But he was mesmerized by the sun, and sure enough, as his father had said, the wax holding his wings together began to melt with its heat, and still he rose higher. Still he kept his eyes on the horizon toward the great sun. And as his wings came apart and he plunged to his death in the sea, his father watching, helpless to be able to save him, could it be that he knew he was about to die for flying too close to the sun? And could it be that he simply decided it was worth it? All the best. Stay safe and stay well. Bye.
As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness that we learn light our hearts till we return.